Record button. Okay, got it. All right. So I thought today we could talk about refereeing, since you were the most
Yes.
prolific ref of the pros back in the day. And it's kind of hard to explain
Yes.
to other people, but you might have some secrets or tips to share with other wannabe refs.
Well, don't do it. So refereeing was, at least back then, was one of the most problematic issues facing the upper levels of play, whether before or before pros or once the pro game got going. The problem was that everything was first time. I mean, strategies, shots, players. We were, not me, but the players were inventing the game, as we went along. And if you'd never seen it before or been there, it could be a real problem, with people bumping into each other, and what are you allowed to do? What are you not allowed to do? How much space do you give somebody? What's a hinder? What's an avoidable hinder? And then, then you get into the area of controlling the match and the players, and how much is entertainment and how much is poor sportsmanship, and there was just all these different things, and all I wanted was for the best player to win the match. Whoever played the best that day would win. I didn't shenanigans or a poorly refed match to alter the outcome.
Wait, just sec, Chuck. I have to switch. Chuck, hold that thought. I have to switch servers because we have all these different ones, and I don't know why it connects to one that's far away, and I'm getting vibration rather than. So let's see. Let me go to. Hang on. Okay. Do you see? Are you?
I'm here.
Oh, wait. It says your internet connection is unstable. Let me double check. G5. It's the one sitting right next to me. Okay. Let's go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So
talk about the shenanigans again, because I think I lost some words there.
Well, I felt it was important that there be a certain purity, if you can put it that way, to the matches. I mean, these were competitions, and you wanted them to be fair. And I wanted whoever won. That's fine, but it should be done, within the rules, and applying the rules to the pros was a lot different than applying the rules to a couple of, C players and, at the Y. The other thing is, and you'll have to excuse me from time to time, got a little morning frog in my throat, so I may, have to cough from time to time.
I edit that stuff out. Don't worry. Yeah, anyhow, that just gets cut out.
The other thing is, everybody has their own style. Every region had its own style. It was one thing, if you were a plotting strategist, or if you were a power player or a retriever, you had a certain style that you played, and nobody ever saw retrieving like Surratt or Wagner, or I mean, it was just stuff you were, and so, and the pros couldn't ref themselves. That would be a conflict of interest. So and nobody ever saw him play. I mean, in true high end, this is for all the marbles. I gotta, win this match or go home. Nobody could do it. And so we'd be in Southfield, Michigan, or we'd be in Miami, or we'd be in Portland, Oregon, or wherever we were. We were new to town. We were bringing a sport that people played, but they'd never seen like this. So who do you get to ref the matches? There was nobody else. Myself, and then eventually I trained Terry Fancher and Dan Bertolucci, to do it. But I also had a vision of how a match should flow. That there should be a professional demeanor. So for the big matches, I'd dress nice and to sit on the perch or whatever, and I'd have a little canned little speech about, welcome, Mr. Brumfield and Mr. Bledsoe or whatever it was. And, I had a cadence and a rhythm, and I tried to be the same all the time to take myself, the referee, out of the mix, and the players would get used to me, and they did. And they got used to how I called a match, and I got used to how they played. And it worked pretty well, So I called the quarters, the semis, and the finals. Now that got to be too much after a while, and that's when I worked in Fancher and Bertolucci to start calling the quarters, or at least picking up. If they took one, I could take the other two, and then I would do the semis and the finals. I took great pride in it. I enjoyed it. Probably the only person in the history of the sport who enjoyed refereeing the pros. But we were presenting something to the public for the first time, and it was unique, but I wanted to keep it within certain safeguards. I mean, there was some violence, not necessarily personal violence, but I mean, and then there was the psychology and the intimidation factors, and I mean, everybody did their thing. Obviously Charlie was famous for it, but people developed their antidote to being intimidated by doing whatever they did. I mean, and none of them really were choir boys. I mean, they just, that's it. So that's how I got to refereeing so many of the matches. And like I said, I enjoyed it because I felt I was taking the referee out of the max. I mean, but I created, as we went along, things obviously needed improvement, so I invented the linesman, and I invented the appeal. Did it skip? Did it not skip? And all that kind of stuff. I invented the 11-point tiebreaker, which I don't know what they do now, but things to keep the matches legitimate, honest, straightforward, and just let the players play. So that's my thing on refereeing.
Good. I think you can say more, though. I think, for example, why don't you explain the avoidable hinder, which I hear now is called the penalty hinder?
Well, yeah, I mean, hinder
because
is
it's different than handball, right? It's different than it was in handball.
Not back in the day.
Okay.
No, not at all. It was the same. We inherited those rules from handball: hinder, avoidable hinder, um, you know, and some of the other things. Now, it became pretty obvious pretty quickly that with a racket, um, and the speed with which the ball traveled being hit off the racket was a lot different than handball. You know, handball, you hit the ball and it hits the guy in the back. Okay, well, gee, ouch. You know, you drill a guy in the back, with 110-mile-an-hour off the back wall blast from Hogan, and it comes out his belly button. So so hinders were part of the game. It's a fast game, and people bump into each other inadvertently, and that's just part of the game. It's a hinder. Also, you call it hinder for safety. That's a typical situation that, in my opinion, in those days, only I could make the right call. And that was critical. If you get in front of somebody and that person can't hit a shot or the shot that's appropriate from that location and situation because you moved in front of that person, that's not a hinder. That's what we called an avoidable hinder. You didn't have to move in front of that person, even though you were doing it for positioning to retrieve the shot that person was going to hit. You took the shot away by your positioning. That's an avoidable hinder. Okay. Two players bumping into each other because I thought you were going to go left and you went right, and nobody's, setting up, to kill it into the left front corner. You know what I mean? It's just an inadvertent bump. That's a hinder. It's just the way it is. So understanding the difference there, and the players understanding, pardon for putting it this way, but how much they could get away with, where that line was, and it was in how they played. Strandemo used to have a style of kind of coming up and getting underneath you a little bit and looking up, and you knew he was there. He wasn't really in the way, but he sort of was. And and everybody had their own little thing. And the more I refed, the more I was able to understand what was going on and make the appropriate call, and then and vice versa. So we kind of worked all together. They knew how I was going to call the match, and I knew how they were going to play the match, and we just kind of worked it out. As far as I invented the technical foul, because I wasn't going to take crap from the players, back talk and profanity and just poor sportsmanship kinds of things. But I wanted them to put their personality on display if that was if they wanted to, and each player had a different personality, and I didn't want them, I wanted them to become, no different than McEnroe and Connors back in the tennis days. Each player has his or her personality. Keeley was stoic. They're all different, which is fine, because they were, we thought we were building something, and you wanted that, I want to see Brumfield. He's, he pulls all this stuff. Oh, I want to see Surratt. He's oh, I want to see Schmidtke. All he does is kill the ball from 39 and a half feet, whatever it was.
What about diving? I'd heard that diving was a avoidable hinder.
No. Diving was diving. First of all, diving was unbelievable. Diving was there is maybe 20 players in the country who could effectively dive and retrieve the ball. There were probably 3 players, 4 players who could dive, retrieve the ball, and then do something with it, other than just get it back to the wall, but actually do something with it.
Who were the best
Surratt,
divers? Yeah.
Oh, I think Surratt for sure was one of the best divers. He may have been out of his, head and shoulders above anybody else. Everybody dove, if they had to, nobody wanted to, but it was, what you had to do as a referee is when they dove, assuming they successfully retrieved the ball, now you got somebody who's, prone on the floor, scrambling, trying to get up to get in position to retrieve the next shot. And you have the opponent who's got a plum, because the person just dove and you barely got it back. And, so if in the process of getting up to get back into position, you take away that plum shot from the other opponent, that's an avoidable hinder. Okay. Just things like that. Yeah, that was fun. And people went wild because they'd never seen, diving, oh my God. And then diving, actually doing something with the ball. It was pretty cool.
What was your toughest match to ref? And when did anyone ever really get mad at you, threaten you, want to pull you out of your seat besides Charlie Drake?
Well, you know what? Maybe time dulls the memory, but I don't have any negative recollections. If Charlie Drake, hold on one second.
Sure.
I'm on Zoom. Okay, what time do we end?
9.
9 o'clock.
20 minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah, hold on one second.
No, go ahead. Do what you need to do.
Yeah.
That's okay.
You need your charger? No. See, the stuff with Drake, as an example, never bothered me. Charlie had a vested interest in certain players winning. And, I knew that, everybody knew that. But that's irrelevant. Just because a sponsor or any person wants one of the competitors to beat the other, so what? That's always, that's always the case. It has nothing to do with anything that goes on inside the court. And if I called the match properly, and that would mean that the best player would win, and that's the way it had to be. And that was a really important component because that's, if otherwise, pardon the expression in today's society, otherwise it would have been rigged. And if people knew, oh, well, if you played for this sponsor, you were going to get a good draw, or the ref was going to lean your way or something. No. That's why I had to do it, because I knew it was going to be done straight. As far as nobody ever threatened me as that I remember. We go out and party together after the matches and sometimes before the matches. There were some famous encounters that some people remember, and many of them involving Brumfield, just because that was his personality. Charlie was a master at psychology and getting inside players' heads, and he had this this aura that kept telling people that he had to do it because he was just an average Joe and not nearly the athlete that the competitors, most of his competitors were, which wasn't true, but it was a nice line. And Charlie was a great athlete, And, you know, they're all great athletes. They're just different, you know, based on, you know, their physical being. I mean, you know, Schmidtke wasn't the fastest, but he had a deadly forehand. Wagner could get anything. Halesher, you know, had the beautiful mix of forehand and backhand. Surratt, you know, was special. Keeley could do anything on the court. You know, they were all great. You know, just different. And that was just kind of like any, you know, same in tennis, same in squash, same in badminton, I'm sure, same in handball. You know, I mean, you know, all these one-on-one competitive sports. You know, and it was same in racquetball.
Okay, I'm gonna try an experiment. I've never done this before. I'm gonna try to share my screen so you will see a YouTube video that I'm gonna share with you, and let's see if you can talk over it and it can be recorded. I'm not sure if this will work, but we'll just do it for like a minute or so. Okay?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you're gonna watch this little video. Let's see. Uh-oh, wait. Let me try. Are you still there, Chuck?
I'm here.
Okay. Do you remember this match?
I don't see it.
Oh, you don't see it?
Nope.
Oh, shoot. I thought I did share screen. Let's see. It says share screen. Let's see. One per participant, multiple participants. Oh, okay. Too bad. Let me see. Multiple shared at one time. So you don't see my screen.
I see you.
Oh, you do? That's not what I wanted you to see. Okay, then never mind.
You have purple glasses.
Yeah, no, you don't need to see that. Okay, so let me go back to, let me unshare screen. Huh. Yeah, I don't know how I can do that. Okay, it was an experiment, didn't work. Anyway, it was the, have you seen the one I posted on YouTube of when Bledsoe beat Marty in the finals in 77 at Atlas? Oh, I'll send you that link anyway.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, maybe you'll relive some of those moments. But I just remember, to me, I think I remember Charlie Drake almost pulling you down from the referees. He was so upset about Bledsoe beating Marty, and they were both his players, you know. But anyway,
well, yeah, he
I
had a
remember
lot of
Donnie Thomas. I think
yeah,
somewhere he went into the locker room after a match and broke the glass, the mirror in the locker room with his racket. Or, I mean, what stands out in your mind as some of the most crazy antics that happened while you were reffing?
While I was reffing?
Well, yeah, whatever.
Okay, well, you know, the one that always stands out to me was when the only time to that point that anybody had ever had a technical foul call on him before the match started, which was Brumfield. And I can't remember which tournament. As I recall, it was Atlas. I don't know which round and which match and who the opponent was, and I don't even remember the situation. I just Brumfield was being Brumfield, and we, you know, whether it was you know, they were arguing over which ball, you know, we were going to use, or Charlie. I don't know. I don't remember what the situation was, but I had to call a technical foul on him. And so I remember distinctly how odd it sounded. 0 serving -1. And, you know, I think that is the only time I can actually remember saying that. You know, they all blend together now. You know, all the matches, and they're happy memories. I hope, you know, I hope the players, as they look back on those years, at least, you know, honestly believe that I gave them a fair shot, you know, and it didn't matter who they were, who their sponsor was, what the round was, what their seed was. None of that mattered. It's just two guys on the court and, have a great match.
Great.
So,
Yes.
As far as other off the court shenanigans, there were tons of them. I mean, I don't remember Don Thomas, that thing that you mentioned.
Yeah.
He was a pretty mild-mannered guy, so it must have been pretty radical thing, whatever it was that happened. I mean, one time we thought it would be pretty funny to spike the Gatorade jug with vodka and not tell anybody. That was a mistake. But I mean, silly things like that. We play cards all night, or things like that, and then get up at go to bed at 6 and have a match to ref at 9. That wasn't always easy, but it was fun. It was good times. It was good times.
I worked with Brumfield on Inside the Master's Mind series, and I believe it was him who told me some of his little tricks, but I don't know if it would work in the pros, maybe not. But he was saying if it was like when people watched upstairs, and your buddy, something was not looking good, you could drop a pencil or something into the court and that would be replayed. Or he was saying whoever gets to the service box first gets the call, or things like that. Were you aware of any of those kind of tricks, or were you susceptible at all?
Not at all. Often, when you get to the quarters, semis, finals of a pro match, you were with glass walls most of the time, which went up pretty high. It was pretty hard to do that. If it was a reffing perch, like the old upper back wall where I have no recollection, honestly, of any friends of or family of the competitor doing anything like that. The other thing is, when I was reffing, another reason I like to ref the match is I could take notes. And I remember I had to go back and write up the tournament for the magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I'm reffing, I know I'm in the middle of it, and I could circle a point or a rally, or write a note. Oh, this was a key point, on this one, and so my scorecard looked like hieroglyphics,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'd go back and try and decipher it pretty quickly. Whereas most people, they're done with the match, they throw the scorecard away. No, I needed that. That was like my notes. So
great. What about refs today, or being televised, or maybe some examples of some bad reffing? We have about 5 minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
So just any other tangent in regards to reffing?
No, I don't think so. There was one year we tried to, somebody invented an electronic machine, if you will, that created a beam that went along the floor, and it could detect whether the ball skipped or hit the wall first, which is always, one of the toughest calls to make. Was it good, was it not? And we tested it, in several tournaments, and felt really good that we could take the human error out of the skip shot by using this device. And I thought, wow, that's going to be awesome. And, we used it in early rounds, and the players said, yeah, this will work. We'll go, we'd rather, and so I can't remember where we were. We were in a tournament, and we turned it on, and we said,
Oops.
and sorry,
Okay.
I got interrupted.
Okay, go ahead.
And so match starts, and a couple points into the match, whoever it was hits the ball. It's about 2 feet off the ground, not anywhere near a skip, and the beam goes off, the light goes on, and you go, what? That was weird, and then a couple plays later, the same kind of thing happened. And turns out that the club, in preparation for the tournament, had just painted the courts, and the force of the ball and the suction of the ball when it would hit the wall was causing paint chips, microscopic paint chips, to flutter down and break the beam of light. And we decided to turn the machine off. I'm plugging in my battery.
Okay.
Just hold on 1 second, please.
Sure. We have two and a half minutes right now. It's okay. It's okay. We're all good.
All right. So
can you tilt it down a little bit again so we get rid of the ceiling? Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Sure. By the way, that's my Hall of Fame placard on the wall there.
I was going to ask that. I thought maybe that had something to do with racquetball. When did you get inducted into the Hall of Fame?
I'd have to go look. 1996 or 7, something like that. That was a happy moment. I was pleased and proud that my contributions to the sport were acknowledged. It also indicated a sort of a peace treaty, finality of, because that was the same year that the pros, quote unquote, like Hogan and a few of the others were how do you get inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Let's hope you didn't get indicted.
No, that's not me. So yeah. So how's it going?
I think we're going to cut out in a second, and we could continue by phone if we needed to, but the interview is fabulous. Thank you. The editing is going much slower than the gathering of materials. Yesterday, I interviewed for over 2 hours. Do you remember Federico Alvarez from Mexico, from El Paso?
No, okay. I was long gone by then.
Oh, I think you're right. Well, he claimed to be the greatest ref of all time, so I thought that was kind of funny. But he was trained by, I'm going to say, John Hallard, somebody that coached Dave Peck in El Paso, that people don't know the name, but I'm going to look him up or talk to Dave about him. Anyway, so I mean, it's just interesting, the interviews I'm doing. And I have a lot of material to work on. So I'm going to be leaving here and going up to Santa Cruz, my home, where I don't have a caregiving job 24 hours a day. And hopefully I'll be able to do the editing. How are you doing? Good. I know you're in the hospital. What happened?
Oh, I've been a lymphoma patient since 2013.
Oh my goodness.
And I've had 3 different types of lymphoma. I'm still here.
Yeah, but you look great.